An interesting question a while ago was what made it that this society became so sick? And, well, someone else wondered when so long ago may it have happened. This may have happened. See, actual timings of things isn't necessarily hard or easy to observe. If we look at an energetic level, there are, cycles that the sun especially imposes or inflicts upon this solar system, being the largest entity and obviously being the one giving his own energy. Well, one of those stages is called Kali Yuga. There are other similar stages and sub-stages where the main influence is that of self-destruction and running away from nature. As far as I can feel in a way, I'm not 100% telling you this for sure, but the point is, a few thousand years ago, the idea of humanity simply changed because, many, many years ago, let's say thousands, whatever, maybe even more. The tribal societies moved from, cave people, they moved to a more modern society. And, well, typically when this happens, people start losing contact with nature as well. Because now they have a much better comfort. The comfort of their own wooden or probably even stone homes. Because now their homes are no longer necessarily just a cave. They now can live in huts or, well, as time passes, even stone, which is far more durable and can offer better protection against, different natural, let's say different types of weather. Now, when we think about such societies and when humans move to far greater comfort, there is a big problem because the bigger the comfort, well, people start losing their necessity for responsibility. See, back in those times, there weren't as many things to do as one may have to do right now. But there were still, the household chores and this and that, and talking to your friends and such. When you are a tribal society living in nature, the cycles of nature will remind you that, talking with others and, well, we don't groom one another, but, societal bonding, let's call it, is somewhat important. When people barricade themselves in between walls, they forget slowly and surely who and what they are, and they stray away more and more from from their own nature, and they start forgetting what being masculine and being feminine is. When the feminine is giving their own comfort, the problem is if they are somewhat ignorant, and moving away from nature will inevitably turn everyone ignorant. Well, the feminine will be engulfed in their own poison because you give an ignorant woman their comfort that they seek, and then their mind will wander in all directions, and the only thing will they will create or do is spew poison all around because a miserable woman cannot be capable of doing anything than that. Well, just like a miserable man, because ultimately, when people go miserable, well, they become like a virus, and the virus needs to spread. That's how misery exists. Misery is basically like a pandemic in a society. And, well, isolation of these individuals, unfortunately, becomes a must more and more the more their number increases. And, well, the problem is a sick society in its worst scenario might require what medics call a cytokine storm, or, well, a huge internal struggle to try to reduce the number of these deviants of society, of these ignorance in society, or at least reduce their influence in society. There are methods through which this can be ensured. Well, some of them are rough, some of them maybe less, but after a certain threshold, the masses become critically ignorant, and then there is simply no turning back. for thousands of years, upon which some people behind the curtains, they will always hide and they will always do their own biddings and plans, and they will seek a certain level of supremacy over everyone else. It is a cycle that is going on with the world and has been going on for numerous earthly cycles. And well, now we can see it unfold yet again because the Kali Yuga cycle is over, but it doesn't mean that its influence is necessarily finished. When people live life, the more aware one becomes. They simply can embrace life in a way that makes them less and less influenced by energy influences of the stars, of the cosmos, and well, of the sun as well. Also, planetary influences as well, because you live on this big planet. And the planet and the moon have a big influence on you, whether you want to believe it or not. Earth has a certain influence on you. You have the five elementals of this cosmos within you. Yes? And they have a certain influence on you based on how you embrace certain things. How you eat influences your earth, how you breathe influences your air, how you drink influences your water. Many other things embrace embraced in an ignorant or in a conscious way influence certain things. The clothes that you wear influence your earth, for example. How you think, how open you are to spirituality and the balance and geometry of the cosmos influences your Akash, for example. And well, whatever, so more. And when the feminine forgets how to be feminine, she forgets obviously that um, the hand that rocks the cradle, well, decides the future of the nation. And typically this happens first. Because masculine energy, typically, when they no longer receive the elevation of the feminine, they will become simply what they basically are. Well, they will become tribal, expansionist, and, well, defensive, if it is needed, or aggressive and expansionist yet again. Because expand until one can no longer, then simply build up the walls. If they can go beyond, they will expand. If not, they will go behind their walls. This is technically masculine energy at their base. If it is elevated by the feminine, it will give birth to tremendous leaders. But women, especially the feminine, when they're given their comfort zone and they are ignorant, they will forget about that part. They will become horrible mothers, and they will become nothing else than a plague for society. If this goes on for hundreds upon hundreds of years, probably even thousands, but typically hundreds upon hundreds of years, the masculine will become more and more perverted because the lack of feminine will induce a great imbalance. And obviously, you will have more and more deviant parents who will raise even more monstrosities, right? Because the more miserable people are, the more they will need to breed. And the more people there become, the more miserable there are, because misery also increases proportionately with, numbers. As things go in life, the point is when these two genders forget their roles, well, the masculine forgets their roles means there will be sick leaders. There will be people who are easy to buy, easy to manipulate, well, easy to cheat around with. And there will be a lot of fake people because there's no more masculinity, right? Or less and less. There will be people who will be very fake. There will be people who will be very cowardly. People who are easy to bribe. When the masculine forgets their part, they forget that in order to rebalance society, they need to remind the feminine of their purpose as well. The masculine's purpose is to remind the feminine of responsibility, and the masculine will typically take responsibility far more than the feminine, because up to a certain threshold, the masculine will typically still keep struggling on, fighting on to defend the feminine because that is the nature of the masculine. And beyond that threshold, they will start oppressing the feminine because they will see it as a disease, they will see it as a plague, as a missing link, as a pain, and obviously any sick aspect has to be still in the end tainted, not tainted, untainted, has to be either oppressed or it has to be exterminated. And throughout history, we have been seeing manifestations of these, but I haven't seen anyone talk about as to why these have been happening around. The feminine typically seems to be the trigger of problems because if you give comfort to feminine and they have no stability or they don't have a sufficient stability, comfort to an ignorant person or an unstable person, well, it will allow them to slip out of their responsibility. And when you no longer have responsibility, the whole society will crumble in time. And you will have just deviants trying to live life. Without responsibility, no one will be courageous to take steps in life. There will only be quarter steps or half a step because there will always be insecurities and questions: what will happen to me, what will be in it for me, and the such. So hopefully this video raised a bit of awareness. You are appreciated, take care, enjoy life. Ferenc Board signing out.